Ohio won over South Florida 62-56, while the Tar Heels beat Creighton 87-73. North Carolina may be without point guard Kendall Marshall, who underwent surgery yesterday for a broken right wrist during the Creighton game, and it's still too early to tell if he'll play on Friday. With Marshall, the Tar Heels can beat anyone in the nation. Without him, they could be the most vulnerable #1 seed in the field. Later that night, 11 seed NC State takes on 2 seed Kansas. That game takes place at 10:17. The Wolfpack upset #3 seed Georgetown 66-63, while Kansas overcame an 11-point deficit to beat Purdue 63-60. 3 of Kansas's last 6 losses in the tournament have been to double-digit seeds: VCU a year ago, Bradley in 2006, and Bucknell in 2005. If the Wolfpack can knock off the Jayhawks, they'll have some chance at redemption against their bitter rival, the North Carolina Tar Heels. First, before we get to North Carolina, which has become the story of the tournament with Kendall Marshall, let's talk about that other game. Who do you like? Do you give NC State a chance to knock off Kansas?
Oh, yeah, I do. I mean, I think Kansas can beat Carolina in St. Louis in the regional, but I think NC State can beat them. That team's athletic. I watched them play in the ACC tournament against Carolina. Should have won the game. They should have upset North Carolina then. I think Mark Gottfried, in some ways, is a story of the tournament. I mean, that was a guy, they hired him. Nobody wanted him, Mike. Everybody made fun of the hire. People said that's the worst hire in the world, and they're in the Sweet 16 now.
Well, the athletic director struggled to make the hire because of her reputation. Okay, they ended up with Gottfried. He's done a great job. But NC State has, at times this year, turned it over a lot. And I like Kansas with Withey and Robinson. It's going to be too much for NC State on that back line. So I'm going to go with Kansas. But I do agree with you. Kansas can beat Carolina.
Listen, NC State, C.J. Leslie, Bees, we watched him play in high school. He's tough, and he seems to have turned it on.
Yeah, but if you keep turning the ball over like State has at times, right now it's a game of possessions. A game of possessions. The more possessions you create for your team, the better off your team is.
Yeah, and I think North Carolina State, where they've really benefited in this tournament, is they've killed teams on the offensive glass. Part of that being C.J. Leslie. I think Kansas could do a better job of controlling that with Thomas Robinson, Jeff Withey, who hasn't played well but has shown you enough throughout the year. So I like Kansas in that game, but I agree with Matt that NC State is not an 11 seed anymore. They're definitely a threat.
Nobody. Okay, we don't know whether Kendall Marshall will play or not. I mean, I think they could probably get by Ohio without him. But assess this team with, and even if he does play, I can't imagine him being anywhere near the same player when you're playing with a broken wrist.
Going into the tournament, I thought Kentucky and Carolina are here, and then there are 4 teams below: Syracuse, Ohio State, Michigan State, Kansas here. Without Kendall Marshall, Carolina comes to this level again. Doesn't mean they can't win it. I mean, they could get an upset, but it's going to be awful hard. With him, they're still really good. The question for me, he's going to play. I'm certain. He might not play against Ohio, but he's playing in that regional. The question is, can he play as well as he did? How much hindrance is he going to have?
Remember when Terrence Jones had the thumb, he kept getting it hit, and it was sore and it hurt. Same thing's going to be with this wrist, no matter what they put on it. So unless you are playing a team that goes up the floor and presses you and hacks and pushes and shoves, he can probably get by. But that team that goes out on the floor and applies pressure and really bothers the ball handler, in this case, Kendall Marshall, then you got some problems. What I would think Carolina might do was take the ball and put it in Harrison Barnes' hands, or maybe Bullock, somebody like that, and let them start the offense in some form of fashion.
Against Kentucky. They actually put it in Barnes' hands a lot in the tournament.
Exactly, and that would be a way to put Kendall Marshall aside and take out the opportunities for people to hit that wrist.
Which you know they will.
Oh, yeah, and it's not going to be on purpose part of the game.
And people act like it's dirty. People they got mad at Creighton for doing that to John Henson. Look, that's what you do.
I mean, you're putting a guy out there who's hurt.
If you put out somebody who can't shoot, you let him shoot. If you put out somebody that's hurt, they're going to hit his hand.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's part of the game. You're right.
How much of your opinion of Carolina has changed since all this?
A lot. And for one reason, Carolina, what makes them deadly is the ability to take the ball out off the glass, turn up court, and in 3 seconds have a layup. And without Kendall Marshall, you're missing that middle piece. You got Henson and Zeller and even Barnes on the boards. They can bring it down. Then who do they pass to? The top 3 players, Zeller, Henson, and Barnes, all average 1 assist per game. Barnes has 35 assists on the year. So in that half-court offense, and if they do a little differently, like Mike said with Harrison Barnes, that might change things. But you're missing that deadly piece of getting up and down the floor. Who's going to be the guard that can get it down there?